everyone. Welcome. We are super excited to have you all join us today for our Girls in Tech Day, our Hill Air Force Base edition. And we have an amazing agenda for you today. I'm Sydney Tetra, one of the co-founders of the Women Tech Council, and I help run the organization. And we have an amazing day today. First of all, I want to thank Hill Air Force Base. They provided us an opportunity to meet with 5 of their women in STEM and work with them and be able to really have our some of the SheTech students come in and interview. They're super inspiring. Their stories are amazing, and I think we've got a lot of really great things that we're going to be able to do today. So thank you to Hill Air Force Base, and you're going to be amazed at everything. And give them a shout out as we go through. A couple of things that I want to kind of orient you to for today, and that we are going to see. And I'm going to share just a couple of slides to kick us off, so that you can see everything that we're doing. Because we want to give you a few reminders of a couple of really cool things that are coming up. So let me share these with you. Okay, so first thing is, for everyone who's here, we just want to remind you that the virtual summit for SheTech is coming up on April 21st. It's free to attend. You should register now. And we're going to have an entire experience that day. So we're gonna have our tech challenge. We're gonna have thousands of girls who attend. There's lots of giveaways that are gonna be there. There's amazing role models and women in tech that you can meet. So register, get your schools to register, and have everyone participate in what we're doing. Because I think it will be really great. If you just go to shetechexplorer.com, that's how you register. If you have any questions, just let us know, because it's one of the flagship events of the entire year. And next year we'll be back in person, which will be really great. But this year it will still be virtual. So be sure to do that. And then tied to that, there's something that all of you can do. We did this last year, and it's a completely awesome thing. We do a mini workshop challenge with our students. So you have an opportunity to win cash, to compete. And what you have to do is just be a current high school student. You have to register for SheTech. And you can create basically your own workshop. It's a 3 to 5 minute video in any of the categories. So think about science, engineering, technology, or math. One of the cool things that you might not have seen recently is a number of those students who did these workshops last year have actually done television segments over the last month, where we've taken them on TV and we've shown those workshops to really provide exposure to all sorts of cool things. You'll actually hear from Grace later today, and she did one earlier this week from one of her physics workshops that she showcased. So there's some rules and requirements. It's up on the homepage of SheTech. You have to submit them over the next couple of weeks. So get them done, but it's a really cool way to do that. And then during the SheTech Virtual Summit, we'll award all sorts of prizes. There'll be winners in each category. We'll expose them to all of the students who come and participate in SheTech. So this is a really cool thing. So think of your ideas, submit your workshops, and participate in that competition. It's a really fun way to get engaged and for us to showcase the cool stuff that you're doing. Whatever you work on, just make sure they're kind of hands-on experiences. Today, we've got a packed agenda for you. Some amazing women from tech that are all at Hill Air Force Base, and our high school students that are in the SheTech program that had the opportunity to do these interviews. So this is our agenda for today, and we're going to go through this. A couple of things that you should know. After every one of the interviews, you're going to have the opportunity to answer a trivia question, and then we're going to draw from the people who answer for $25 Amazon gift cards, and we'll announce them at the very end. If you watch the chat, we'll communicate with you throughout when the trivia question, and then you'll submit your answers in the chat back to the panelists only. Everyone who submits will be entered to win, and then we'll announce those at the very end. So just a cool way to stay engaged. They'll all be related to the discussions that you just heard before that specific question gets answered, and we'll just keep moving those, and then we'll wrap up at the very end. So we're super excited that you joined us today. We also asked the students to join us who interviewed these women so that we could talk to them a little bit about what they learned and their insights. So with that, I'm really excited to kind of kick off our first interview. First interview that we did was with Colonel Carroll, and Sarah Greer had the opportunity to interview her. So Sarah's going to join me here, and we're going to talk a little bit about, so Sarah, you had this really cool opportunity to interview Colonel Carroll. Can you share with all of us what you loved most about your interview with her?
Well, what I really loved most about my interview was just how passionate and happy Colonel Carroll really seemed to be she always had a smile on, and she was so happy, and you could just tell that she loved her career and she loved being able to share her passion with other people.
That's pretty cool that you got the opportunity to do that interview, right? And to see like how passionate she is about something that she loves. So we're going to jump right in and take a look at the interview that you have had an opportunity to do with her just last week. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm super excited to share your interview.
Hi, I'm Sarah Greer. I go to Farmington High School, and I'm so excited to be here talking to Colonel Janice M. Carroll and learning more about her career and journey. Colonel Carroll is the commander of the 75th Air Base Wing at Hill Air Force Base. So, Colonel Carroll, can you tell us a little bit about your current leadership position?
Absolutely. So, Sarah, thanks for coming out today. Glad to have you here just to talk about what I do and what we do here at Hill Air Force Base. So, as the commander of the 75th Air Base Wing, I provide support to over 52 mission partners here on the installation and at 5 GSUs. That support consists of communication, security, and all the care and feeding of those individuals here on the installation, which includes the Ogden Air Logistics Complex, the 419th Fighter Wing, the 388th Fighter Wing, and many other organizations.
Wow, that's so amazing.
And that is 27,000 people,
Yeah.
not including their families. So day to day, the mission is quite complex, but I am enjoying being here at Utah and serving the men and women here on the installation.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, can you explain the difference between being an Air Force civilian and a military employee?
Wow. So first and foremost, when we say Air Force civilian and military, we're all considered airmen.
Mm-hmm.
So big A airmen when you hear that term, because we're all serving the Air Force. The other thing I have to tell you, if you don't know, is we just actually stood up, or last year we stood up the Space Force, and we now have airmen and guardians. So which is a huge deal because it fits right into the STEM environment. So airmen are those that go through basic training, earn and wear the uniform. That's the military airmen. Civilian airmen also go through a different level of training. Now, when you look at the big Air Force collectively, we have, although active duty airmen is a large percentage, and then we have guard. So that's another type of airmen. Those are individuals that serve at a different time, airmen. We also have reserve airmen, and we actually have a reserve fighter wing here on the installation. That's the 419th Fighter Wing. But when you get to our civilian airmen, the thing about our civilian airmen, and not employees, so call them airmen, the thing about our civilian airmen is more times than not, they are the ones that stay at a base longer than the military airmen. And they really are, I would say, the backbone. They are really the continuity of an installation. The biggest difference is they're the ones that don't move often, but skill sets are very much the same, if you will. So what I offer as an officer, there's a civilian that could also offer that same level of experience. Although we don't have many wing commanders that are civilian, the skill sets are kind of the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, why is your job important to the Air Force and our nation?
Wow. So that is a tough question. Why is it important? Well, I will tell you, Hill Air Force Base is the second largest base in all of the Air Force based on population and personnel. That in itself says it's a huge responsibility. So the things that we do here on the installation, so the Ogden Air Logistics Complex, I mentioned that, right? Mm-hmm. So depot maintenance, largest depot that we have in the Air Force, but they actually are the ones that employ most of the civilians on the installation. So that's huge for Northern Utah, right? And then we have the 388 Fighter Wing and the 419th Fighter Wings. So those two fighter wings, their job is, I'll just say it's a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift because those two fighter wings actually fly the only combat coated F-35 right now in the nation, in the United States. And so that the reason my job is so complex is because I support those two organizations plus all the others, right? So when you look at the totality of what I do, as far as you say important, I just say it's a lot of responsibility, and it's all about giving them their sure support of the mission set. But now let's flip to the people portion. So the mission is one thing, but what about the resiliency? You know, since we've been wearing our face coverings, our mask, if you will, for about a year now, just about, because we're in March. Mm-hmm. That's also a big, important part of what I do, keeping the base safe and secure for airmen, guardians, and their families, making sure that they can come to work every day, and not have to worry about contact tracing, catching COVID. And so you see a lot of the signs across the installation that talk about wear your mask. So that's probably the thing that is the most important right now, is keeping everyone safe. Because the mission, we do the mission well. It's the other piece of resiliency, keeping everyone safe, making sure there's an outing. They can go work out at the fitness center, go walk around the park, whatever it may be. So I would say it's important to make sure that I am keeping the installation safe and secure for all the men and women that serve here at Team Hill.
Yeah, and that's really incredible. So why is STEM important to the Air Force?
Wow. So when you say STEM important to the Air Force, so we've been doing STEM in the Air Force for a long time. And if I can take you back to weapon systems, so we call our aircraft weapon systems, science and technology and engineering and math got us there, right? So we have several organizations in the Air Force that focus on STEM. But I'll go back to right here at Hill Air Force Base, we have a thing called Starbase. Starbase is for our youth. And it's such an amazing experience if you can ever go over there. But Starbase, we start with our 5th graders, and we introduce STEM to the youth. And it's youth in the surrounding area. And we start them on that trajectory to understand STEM. So we start youth, and then we look at what else we can do to get them to really start thinking, as you said before we started this, your focus is like physics. What is it that you want to do? It's important to the Air Force because everything we do is about technology. It is truly about technology. And so some may say, well, it's just about the aircraft. It's bigger than the aircraft. And I offer that those gentlemen working on the front gate when you came in, we call them defenders, security forces. So there's innovation in their job too. How do we make sure that we secure the base using innovation? So an element of STEM goes into their job. But why is it important to the Air Force? Because everything is changing. And STEM is really where we're going. Science, technology, and math, they're a big deal. I love STEM. I say I was a geek. I mean, some people may still think I'm kind of a nerd, but I love what we do with science and technology because if we stay in front of it, there's nothing we can't do. The other thing I'll tell you about the Air Force or here at Hill is we have our museum. Our museum also has a program that works with our tech colleges and our universities to really hone in on those skills when it comes to STEM, different types of STEM activities, if you will. And then here at Hill, again, as I mentioned, we have a large civilian force. A lot of those civilians that work here on the installation, they do various jobs, some computer science, some computer engineering. Many aspects of that's here, right here in your hometown.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how widespread that STEM reaches. How many fields.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, we talk about organizations that oversee STEM. A lot of those are at Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the things that, like right now, STEM is such a buzzword. It's really been going on for a long time. It's just that now it's being highlighted even more because it is a talent that we need in the United States.
Yeah, definitely. So what STEM careers are needed at Hill Air Force Base?
Wow. Whew. That's a loaded question. I do know that we need computer scientists, computer engineers. Those are kind of the top two that I am very much aware of. And we also need software engineers. So there's a spectrum, I guess, if you will, of what we need here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say that that's all we need that's in a STEM career field, because we have your engineers, and those are your engineers that do day-to-day type stuff on the base. They're also engineers that they don't work in computer science and things like that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all of your insight. I just have one more question for you. What advice would you give to girls who are considering pursuing a career in STEM?
Wow. So my advice for girls, whatever career you're going to go into, is make sure that you're passionate about what you want to do. And don't be afraid. So not everything is easy. And I say it often, if it was easy, anyone could do it. And so where it may appear a little hard, it may seem overwhelming, just go for it. And I've been in those positions where it's like, oh, wow, I'm going to now go do that. So what it may seem easy today was not easy yesterday, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all things come with experience. So for anyone that wants to go into STEM, I'll say just go out and do it. And the path is continuing, is starting for you, and just continue that trajectory for all the young women that are out there that decide that they want to do a career in STEM.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
No, Sarah, thank you so much. This is so awesome. I'm super excited that you're here. I know that you're going to come back. I know that perhaps I'll come out and visit the school and just see what else I can offer to you and your classmates.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, well, hopefully you fall in love with Colonel Carroll just like I have. I think she is inspiring. She has such an important story. And if you listen to some of the things that she was talking about, how critical that STEM is at Hill Air Force Base, the 27,000 people that she is over, she has this massive responsibility and that she takes really seriously. And she just provided such a great insight into the types of amazing things and the amazing impact that you can have in our country, for the nation, and with technology. And I think that's one of the cool things that we want everyone to walk away with from today is that you have this opportunity in STEM. It just opens up because technology really fuels every part of our world today. So that the more education that you have in that, the cooler these opportunities and that you can see how the things that you love become a part of. So next up, we're going to have the opportunity to hear from Megan Jensen. And Hannah Dickens had the opportunity to interview her. So we're going to pull Hannah over, and she's going to just share with us a little bit kind of live about what that experience looked like and what it was like to interview Megan. So Hannah, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, so I think probably the most interesting part was when she talked about she participated in the exchange program to go to Australia. She talked about how she worked with the school there, and I just thought that it was super interesting that she was able to take her job and be able to travel with it.
That's cool. Did she talk about how many places she got to be able to travel to?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know it was a couple.
Yeah, that's really cool. A lot of what the Air Force is able to do that. What did she inspire you with as you were talking to her?
Well, she's a little rocket scientist, so I mean, that kind of in and of itself is inspiring.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And it's awesome that you had an opportunity to sit down and talk to her in person. Super excited to hear your interview. And so we're going to jump straight over to your interview. Hannah, thank you so much for doing that.
Hey, so I'm Hannah. I'm here with Megan Jensen here today. So she is a supervisory engineer over the Aerospace Vehicle Developmental Testing at Hill Air Force Base. She started working for the Air Force as an intern while going to college. When she went to college, she got a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in aerospace engineering. So it says that you worked as an intern. Would you suggest people doing that when they're my age?
Absolutely. So I was in college getting my bachelor's degree, and I had someone come up to me who I did not know, but they apparently knew me, and they came up to me and told me that they knew I was in the mechanical engineering department and that they had an internship that they would have loved to apply for, but they were changing majors and were no longer qualified, and gave me an email. And so I sent that person an email and applied. And so it was simply a case of being in the right place at the right time and being in the STEM degree and having those qualifications behind me.
So with your 2 degrees, you're a real-life rocket scientist. What does that entail most of the time?
So a lot of times it entails being at a computer, but I do get out into the labs, get to go do testing, and it's a lot of fun. We do a lot.
So what do you do in a typical day at your job?
So a typical day right now obviously is a little different because we're working from home for the most part due to COVID. But a typical day for me is unfortunately a lot of meetings, but we get to review test procedures and test plans and in anticipation of testing for the new ground-based strategic deterrent, which is coming online and is being developed right now. So I get to do the test plans and review those, our main goal being safety, obviously, and making sure that what is being developed is safe and effective.
Would you typically travel if it weren't for COVID?
We would be in the office, and we are in the office a lot because a lot of our work is classified and cannot be done at home. But we will travel for the testing, and we'll be doing quite a bit of traveling as we get ramped up more and more. I'm over things like the booster, and so we get to go test the rockets, and we'll be traveling for that.
That's super interesting. Where will you be traveling for that? Can you tell us?
I'm not sure if I can tell you that, so I'm just gonna err on the side of I'll leave it at that.
Sounds good. What would be your best experience so far in your job?
So I was lucky enough to be selected for a program called the Engineer and Scientist Exchange Program. And I was selected for the 2018 cycle, and I was assigned to the Defense Science and Technology group in Australia. And so I got to go be a part of that group for 2 years. And there I was working in the Missile and Space Propulsion group, and we developed new rocket propellants, and we're doing research on things like rotating detonation engines and new ways to mix solid propellant and all sorts of things like that. And that was a fantastic experience for me.
Really cool. This has been really, really interesting. I think I've learned a lot that I didn't know before. So what would you say would be your advice for someone who is interested in a STEM field?
I would say that there's a lot of opportunity in STEM. There's a lot of different paths you can take. Even though my degree was, mechanical as a bachelor's and an aerospace master's, there's 1,000 different directions you can go from that. And I think that STEM degrees and STEM pathways really set you up well in life. You can go whichever direction you want. I never imagined that I would have been able to go to Australia and physically mix, rocket propellants. And so, but that was a path that STEM took me, and I never would have had that opportunity otherwise. And so I think that if you're thinking of STEM, I think you just keep going. And sometimes it's hard, but it wouldn't be STEM if it wasn't hard. And so just keep believing in yourself and keep going.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great job, Hannah, on your interview. I think super inspiring to hear the paths that women have taken and all of the different things. I also think it would be really cool to mix propellants and test those, although that wasn't the path that I had. So just as a reminder, you'll see the trivia questions coming. If you answer them, we'll announce winners at the end. But I love the fact that Hannah got to sit down with Megan and learn a little bit about that type of career and that type of path, and that she came from mechanical engineering into aerospace and has had all of these opportunities. And we're hoping today, as you go through, that you see all of these different ways that you can apply what you love into STEM pathways and the really cool things that are happening in our local company, Hill Air Force Base. So next up, we have Grace. Grace Wong had the opportunity to interview Kim Jones. And so Grace is going to join me and tell me a little bit about what was her favorite thing about the interview that she had the opportunity to do. I think Grace is coming right now. Might have seen Grace on.
There we go. Can you see me?
Yes, I can totally see you.
Okay.
Hey, Grace.
Yeah, it was super cool. Dr. Jones has a PhD, so obviously that takes a high level of work ethic, and you could tell that she had worked really hard to get to where she was, but that she loved doing it. And I just thought that was really cool.
So Grace, while I have you here, my other question for you is help promo. So I'm super excited to jump into Dr. Jones' interview. Before we do that, promo a little how cool it was to create a mini workshop last year and be able to showcase that again this year. Will you just highlight that for everyone who's watching?
Yeah, so I actually did the workshop with my little brother last year, and it was really fun to be able to do STEM with him, and we had a lot of laughs making the video. And so I was an honorable mention last year, and then this Tuesday I got to go to the television studio and film the experiment again. And it was really cool, and it was a really fun experience.
I'm on mute. I watched you and Nisha, and I thought it was just awesome that you got to showcase STEM. I think it's just one of the cool things that everyone gets an opportunity to do. As you get more involved in STEM, there's more connections and there's more opportunities for that. So awesome. Thanks for doing that. And thank you for your interview. We're really excited to watch it next. And I'm going to jump straight into the interview.
Hello, everybody. My name is Grace Wong. I go to Brighton High School. I'm a senior there, and I'm super excited to be able to introduce Dr. Kimberly Jones to you today. She has a PhD in mechanical engineering, specifically studying corrosion, metal fatigue, and structural integrity, and she works with F-16 aircrafts on their structural integrity program. So I think that's pretty cool. If you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit more about that, Dr. Jones.
I would be happy to. And Grace, feel free to call me Kim. I'm happy to.
Okay.
You don't have to call me Dr. Jones, so all good. But with my F-16 ASIP program, ASIP is Aircraft Structural Integrity Program. ASIP is a big program that the Air Force does, and every weapon system that the Air Force has does ASIP. And we have all kinds of rules and regulations that we have to follow to make sure the aircraft maintain their safety throughout the life that they last. And so that's kind of what we do. But from my side, I make sure that we have enough data to support the analyses and things that we do. And we try to make sure, like I work with cracks and corrosion and things like that. So age-based degradation and making sure the aircraft remain safe as they get older. And I work on the computer a lot, and we talk to people on the phone a lot, you know, the ones that actually are touching the aircraft, but I do get to touch aircraft occasionally as well.
And how did you get involved working with F-16s and with the Air Force?
Well, this is kind of a fun story. So I did my doctorate at the University of Utah, and, you know, focusing on corrosion and fatigue and structural integrity and all kinds of good things that apply to aircraft. And I was actually involved with a program during my PhD that we worked with the Air Force on a corrosion fatigue structural demonstration program is what it was called. And so, you know, I thought that would be a good career path. And so when I finished up my doctorate, I started applying for jobs, and I got picked up by a contractor for Hill Air Force Base doing work for the F-16 and the ASIP program. And then after being there for 5 years, the government actually approached me and said, do you want to become a government employee? And I said, sure. So I've been there my entire career, basically doing the same thing, but on the government side, I have a lot more programmatic liberties. Like I get to run a lot more stuff. So I'm running like about a $25 million program right now. I have about 25 people that work underneath me. So working on the government side has opened up a lot of opportunities.
There's a lot more to mechanical engineering than just like the standard stuff you would normally think of.
There are so many different fields, like pages of them, and lots of different specialties you can go into. It's very broad, probably the most broad engineering field there is.
So has your PhD opened any doors for you? Like, are you glad you got it?
Yes, absolutely. So I mentioned that my master's was in ergonomics and safety. So as an undergrad, you take all your basic classes, right? You take all the things, you know, that everybody in those kinds of fields has to take, and then some specialized to mechanical engineering. But my doctorate really was focused on the materials side. I took classes from the metallurgical engineering department. I took classes in corrosion, and those were all things that I hadn't taken as an undergrad. And so it really did open up a lot of opportunities for me just because I had focused in those fields and then done a lot of research in it too. But it's been really fun. I mean, I have been all over the world. I've got to travel a lot. I've been involved with NATO and a lot of their research organization stuff. So it's opened up a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I was told that you are on some international committees, like NATO. How does that, like, what do you do with those?
So NATO has this whole research organization, and they get all the countries together and they work on different projects. And this is a very big deal. I mean, there's all the countries fund everything. So like the United States puts in so much money every year. So when we go to these meetings and things, like we don't have to pay anything because the countries have already paid for it. But we work on all kinds of different problems. I mean, there's so many different areas within NATO and things they work on. Like you probably remember hearing about the volcanic eruptions over like in Iceland a few years ago, and how aircraft problems flying through those with the jet engines and stuff like that. So they had a group that was working on that problem. The group that I worked with, we were working on trying to get ASIP, those principles more into more areas. So like mechanical systems for aircraft, that could be anything from the environmental control system or brakes and landing gear, things like that. It's trying to get all of our good ASIP principles, because ASIP has been around a long time, and trying to incorporate that into other areas. So that was the group I worked with.
That's really cool. On the list, is there any advice you'd like to give girls going into STEM?
I say the sky's the limit, and don't be afraid to try. I mean, what's somebody going to tell you? No? I mean, that's the biggest thing I say is go out there, take all the math and science classes. If you need help, go get help. I actually failed a statics class my first or second year of engineering school. And the reason why is because I wasn't studying the right way. I hadn't learned yet. And you'll figure this out when you go to college. You have to figure out how to study for college, because what I was doing in high school wasn't working for me in college and engineering school. And so, you know, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to keep trying. Don't be afraid to talk to people and get help. Find your study group, find those study partners. just figure out what's going to work for you and go for it. Because really, there's no limitations. We can do anything. So ladies, that's your challenge.
Well, thank you so much for being here and answering all these questions for us. It was really awesome to get to meet you today.
Thanks, Grace. It was really fun to get to talk to you. You seem really great too. Hopefully we'll meet in person someday.
Okay, Grace, you did an amazing job. And one of the things that I want to tell everyone is we had an opportunity to spend a lot longer with each one of these amazing women. And the full interviews will be available later on the SheTech site. So you can take an opportunity to watch all of them. But as you listen to each one of these interviews, I just think they're so powerful about the stories that they can tell. I loved her last message around the fact that sometimes you're going to fail and it's okay that there's hard things. And it's really about this tenacity to keep going. These women are just such great examples of that and such great examples of the difference and the impact that you can make in these different fields and in these different areas along the way. So next up, we have the opportunity to hear the interview that Angela Layton did with Jennifer Crouch. I'm really excited to also see this interview. Angela, thanks for joining and doing the interview. And I'd love to know a little bit about how did Jennifer inspire you in the conversation that you had?
Oh my goodness, it was so amazing to speak to her. It's kind of funny because I want to pursue a degree in computer science and then go into cybersecurity. And when I came to meet Jennifer, that is literally exactly what she did. She majored in computer science and then went into cybersecurity. And so I actually met someone that's doing exactly what I wanted to do. And that was so cool to finally make that connection.
That's pretty amazing. That is actually pretty amazing and kind of unusual, right? That you find someone that is exactly in the path. Why are you so interested in that kind of a pathway?
Yeah, so I want to go into computer science just because I love the creative nature of it, but then I kind of found that I want to use my computer science education to go into cybersecurity more because I can still program and everything, but also cybersecurity is very focused on public service and protecting what's most important to a lot of people. So that's why I want to go into it.
Oh, that's a really great reason. And it's so cool that you met someone in that pathway. And I'm super excited to see your interview with her. So let's jump into your interview and see everything that you learned.
Hi, my name is Angela Layton and I'm a senior at West High School. It is my pleasure to interview Jennifer Crouch today to learn more about her career and her journey. Jennifer is a computer scientist at Hill Air Force Base and recently received a master's degree in computer science, specializing in cybersecurity and information assurance. She's a board member of the Hill Air Force Base Women in Science and Engineering and a mother of 3. To start, cybersecurity for Hill Air Force Base sounds very interesting. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what a day looks like in your current job.
Sure, thank you. So a day in my job, there's a lot of moving parts and you're really never bored. The code that we write needs to be secure to go onto the jet in order for there to be no vulnerabilities or exploitations. And so that's a big part of my job, is to make sure that our code is secure and it's doing what it needs to be doing and functioning. We also are able to do some testing on the radios because I work specifically on the A-10 and we talk a lot to the guys on the ground, so the Army, and those radio frequencies, we don't want those to get intercepted. So we really have to make sure that those are encrypted and we keep our guys safe.
Can you go a little more into why you chose computer science as your undergrad?
Sure. So I chose computer science truly because the research that I did showed that there were jobs in incredible amounts in computer science, and women are very few in those roles. And I, being an outgoing kind of person that I am, and being somebody that's I like technical things. I like math. I like to solve problems, and so I really went into something that I thought that I would enjoy and that I could excel at. I also took a course at Weber State that went through different careers that you could go through, and a gal came in and just said, "Hey, if any of you are even thinking about computer science, women especially, smart women that can, go-getters that can get it done," she's like, "Do it, just do it." And I was like, "I'm there, I'm done, let's go." So anyways, that was a big part of how I got into computer science, was really just the research. If you research and see that there are just tons of jobs out there in this field. So when I started working for the A-10, one of my supervisors had this great explanation of we're protecting the guy under the rock. And they gave us these cute little army guys to help us, to set on our desk to help us remember that we're there and we're protecting the guy not only in the jet, guy or gal in the jet, but also who's on the ground, because our jet is a close air support and has saved a lot of people. And so to me, it just really resonated and hit home with me that what I'm doing is helping these people get back home to their families. And it just really touched me. And I was like, this might be the silliest little line of code or the silliest little whatever that you're doing, changing this report or testing this one little thing. But in the big scheme of things, you're really helping somebody get back home to their family. And I can appreciate that.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. We have one last question for you, and it is, what advice would you give to girls who are considering pursuing a career in STEM?
Oh my heavens, just do it. I know any girl, I have a daughter myself, and I just, sometimes, you just want to light a fire under them and get them going, but it's going to get hard, and I don't want to sugarcoat that. Sometimes I would really get frustrated in some of my coding courses, but you know what? Ask questions, get a study group, just make plans and get it done and just get out there, because I work with so many men that I need more women with me, and anyway, but it's a great field, and it really is it's challenging. The nice thing too is for me is at Hill, I have a really good family and life balance. Like if I need to get off to go to a basketball game or a soccer game or a concert or whatever I need to do, I can. It's not a problem, and they're really good to work with me with that. And I think that holds its value definitely with being a mom and just being a human in general. If you have something to do, they're really good to work through those things. So yeah,
that's great. Thank you so much.
Awesome job, Angela, and just really great words. Actually, loved what she said a little bit. So Jennifer talked about how with STEM she's been able to balance her life and work, which we hear a lot from women who pursue STEM degrees. As someone who came through a similar path in computer science, right? A lot of the things that she said resonates is you create these paths. One of the things I really love that she also said though is that she's been able to find this mission-driven purpose about what she cares about and what she knows that she's doing every day, which is really helping bring people back to their families. And so I think it's just a really great demonstration too of like, you can take the things that you're really passionate about and the impact that you can have, and you marry those with the opportunities that you have. So thank you, Angela, and for interviewing Jennifer. Just did such a great job. Now I'm excited to introduce you to Kaylee. She had the opportunity to interview Captain Wolfe, and she's going to tell us a little bit about this. So Captain Wolfe has done some really cool things. Kaylee, tell us a little bit about what you loved most about the time that you spent with her.
Captain Wolfe is an amazing person. I love being able to talk to her. I was able to learn so much myself about her job and what she can do. And one of the very cool facts that I found out was that she has a really cool special helmet, and that with the helmet she can see through her own body and through the airplane, and so she can see like the whole like ground below. And that was I learned so much stuff, and it was so incredible talking to her.
That's pretty cool. I've heard everything about the helmet. Like I've heard it's one of the coolest pieces of technology that's up there. Did you get to see the helmet?
Yeah, she. So we had a Zoom meeting, and so she was able to show me the helmet through the camera, and then she told me how it was like made specifically for her, and so it was just awesome to be able to see all the features of the helmet.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that like they're designed to fit just whomever they're made for. And they're really, really expensive. I don't know. Did she share with you how expensive like each helmet was?
Yeah, she mentioned. I mean, it is not very cheap. So she explained how expensive it is and how she has people helping her take care of her equipment since it's very expensive.
I know. I think it's really cool that this high tech, and so many people received like Oculus this year, or have been playing with VR, and the fact that it's like built into the helmet and you like see through the plane. through all of this camera system. I just think it's super cool. I think I heard that those helmets are like somewhere between almost $500,000 is how much each helmet costs, which is like crazy for the tech that's in there. It's pretty cool that you got to see one of those.
Yes, it was amazing.
Well, thank you for doing the interview. I'm excited to show everyone the opportunity that you had to interview Captain Wolfe. So let's jump to her interview.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaylee Orantes. I'm a junior at Woods Cross High School, and I'm on the SheTech Student Board. I'm so excited to be talking with Captain Kristen Bale Wolfe today. When they asked me to do the interview, I quickly started watching and reading everything I could to find out more about her. She's amazing, and I'm so excited for all of you to meet her. Captain Wolfe is the first Air Force female F-35 demonstration team pilot and commander of the team. Hi, Captain Wolfe. I'm so excited to be here with you. Are you ready to jump in?
So it's great to be speaking with you.
I read an article about you that said you flew through a Star Wars canyon. Can you describe that and tell us about some of the other amazing experiences you've had?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the ones that sticks out in my mind as far as just the most beautiful, gorgeous view that I've had flying. So probably one of the top 5. It's not the Star Wars Canyon down here in the 48 lower states. There's one that people refer to as Star Wars Canyon up in Alaska. So it's just outside of Elmendorf Air Force Base, right up near Anchorage, Alaska. So we get to do what we call low-level flying. So we get to fly down all the way down to 500 feet above the ground level. There's some really, really cool mountains that are definitely higher than 500 feet. So you're flying through the canyon, 400, 500 miles an hour, looking left and right, and you're seeing, glaciers coming down the side of the mountain, beautiful trees, the frozen over river, just really, really beautiful area up in Alaska.
That sounds so amazing. I saw that you had your helmet with you. Could you tell us about your helmet? I heard that you can see through your own body to the earth below.
Yeah, absolutely. This one up here. Cool. So this is the helmet that I wear when I fly. So it's specific to the F-35. So every pilot has their own helmet. It's custom fit to them, which is pretty cool. Makes it pretty expensive combined with all the technology that you're going to see up top. I have a different version of the helmet called the Gen 3 Lite. So the light version only has one visor, has a couple of other changes just to make it a little bit lighter weight-wise on your head. So when you're pulling those Gs, that you're not having as much strain on your neck, which I do a lot during the demo and during those aerobatics. So it's pretty cool for me to have the lightweight one. But bottom line, we don't have, if you're familiar with a HUD or heads-up display, like you might also see in some of those fighter movies or Top Gun, we don't have that in the airplane on the dash. All of that symbology is displayed onto our visor. And it's done via basically these 2 projectors up here up top are what's going to project all of that information onto the visor. So we see, all of our airspeed, altitude, pitch angle, bank angle, but all the targeting data that we need to go ahead and employ those weapons. It's all right in front of our face. So pretty awesome. And then as you look around the cockpit, then you're still seeing all that imagery right in front of your face. Additionally, we've got a night vision camera kind of embedded into the top of this helmet, which is really neat because legacy airplanes are going to have to wear night vision goggles strapped to the top of the helmet, whereas we don't have to do that in the F-35. We've already have that night vision camera up here, and it portrays that night vision video onto our visor. So that's pretty neat. Everything else is pretty much just a carbon fiber external and internally, like I said, it's molded to fit your head. So it's, again, a custom helmet to make it as comfortable and lightweight as possible.
That is amazing technology. It's really incredible.
But I think having a degree in engineering is extremely valuable just because it's a process of thinking. It's a, it's a way that they make you think about solving different problems that is extremely valuable no matter what you're actually doing later on in your career. I loved it because it was, some higher level math and higher level science like organic chemistry and, calculus 2, calculus 3 that I hadn't been exposed to before. So I'd like kind of delving into those deeper math and science classes.
How important is teamwork for what you do?
It is extremely important. At air shows, oftentimes, people just think it's, one pilot up there flying one jet around, doing a bunch of cool aerobatics for about 15 minutes. And that's mostly what people see. They don't see the behind the scenes stuff that we do. One, to prep for the show, to get the airplanes to the show, to maintain them while we're there, and to also put the jets to bed after we're done. All that kind of goes to my behind the scenes team. So I have about 10 guys that travel with me. Most of them are maintainers. We have our public affairs guys that take the picture, the videos, do all the editing, keep up the social media accounts. And then I also take a guy on the road with me that maintains my flight equipment, like my helmet, my G suit, my vest, and all that kind of stuff. So all of those people have to be there to make the mission happen, or to make the air show actually happen. Because, the things you don't see is all the work, the hours before and after that 13-minute flight that most people don't get to see is, them checking all the levels of the airplane, the tire pressures, making sure, there's gas on the jet, making sure that nothing is broken overnight and the jet's good to go. And then also putting that jet to bed. So all of that stuff is the air shows, and my job wouldn't happen without them. And so it's extremely important. And then we're very good about, staying compartmentalized with realizing what our job is on the road. And that's literally to fly the airplane for people to enjoy, but then also to get out and spread, either aviation excitement, or, get people excited about being a fighter pilot or what have you. Just get people excited and interact with the public. And that's all of our jobs, not just mine.
So teamwork is incredibly imperative.
Absolutely. Yep.
What is an advantage of being a woman in a male-dominated field?
Being in the military in general, we're obviously going to be outnumbered as far as female to male. And then you kind of whittle that down a little bit more to being a pilot. You have less and less females. And then finally to a fighter pilot. Traditionally, we say we have about 4% of fighter pilot community in the Air Force is made up of females. That's exactly true here at Hill. We have about 100 male pilots here on the base, and we only have 4 females right now out of those 100. So very, very limited exposure. I think to the aviation world in general, we're trying to increase that exposure, and it helps being a female face of a demo team to be able to spread that and have people see, on social media or even at air shows, like, hey, there's actually, a female in that airplane flying around and doing those cool things. Maybe that's something that I can do. So that's really what we're here to do, just to get those people excited. And that doesn't have to be, getting people wanting to join the military or be a fighter pilot. It can be any, STEM related career field. It's traditionally a lot more male dominated. But what I tell people is, particularly in the military and as fighter pilots, we're very good at being skill based and kind of merit oriented. And it's important because, the airplane doesn't know who's flying it. It could be, you never know the face of the person that's going to get out of that airplane. So, even you can relate that to any STEM career field. As long as you can do your job well, people are going to respect that no matter what you look like or who you are.
I just want to thank you for being representation for so many other young girls like I am. Captain Wolfe, thank you so much for talking to me today. I've learned so much. I have one last question. What advice would you give to girls who are considering pursuing a career in STEM?
Sure. I would say, pick which avenue you feel the most drawn to, what you're going to do well in and what interests you the most. Mine was math, particularly with a little bit of science. And so, like I said, when I left high school, I had zero clue what I wanted to do, zero clue that I'd ever end up in the military, but I just kind of followed my passions and tried to do well in whatever I was doing. And it kept those doors open all throughout, even my career is doing well at whatever interests you, and whatever you're currently doing is going to open those doors and allow you to step through a door that you never even knew may open, like being the demo pilot.
That's amazing advice. Thank you, Captain Kristen Wolfe.
Great job, Kaylee, on that interview. And Captain Wolfe just has one of the coolest jobs. I didn't know much about even female fighter pilots or even fighter pilots before the opportunity that we've had to meet her and to listen to her story. I think, and if you didn't know, in the very first intro video that we showed, that was her flying that jet. And it's just really cool to see how each one of these women have taken different paths in STEM and have found different passions and are doing really amazing things that create impact in the world around them for their families, and that they've been able to take and find probably things that they didn't think about when they were students, and open doors along that way. And that's one of the things that we focused a lot on with SheTech, is doing this. And we're so grateful that we got the opportunity to partner today with Hill Air Force Base. They have a tremendous amount of talent at the base. They care passionately about how we help young girls get into STEM and be inspired by all of the different opportunities that exist out there. And we also really appreciate everyone taking the opportunity to join us today. Hopefully you will join all of us also on April 21st at the virtual summit. because there's lots of great things that are happening there, and a lot of other women in all sorts of other fields that will be able to do this. I also want to give you a couple of reminders to make sure that you celebrate all the rest of this weekend, the Girls in Tech Day. It's officially the day on Saturday, but find ways to share the stories that you've heard today, to reach out and connect with mentors, and to really just be inspired about what the opportunities look like. So before we end, we want to make an announcement about some of the winners from the drawings, and Pomai and Kristen are here helping me make sure that we can announce the winners of the drawing. Are we ready to make some announcements? Okay, they told me 2 seconds, so now I have to delay longer. Okay, so a lot of the I'll give them one other plug, which is one of the other things that we have in SheTech is it runs on an annual basis. There'll be an internship program in the summer where you get the opportunity to meet a lot of women. If you're interested in the internship, you can start applying now. And then the other thing that the SheTech program affords, and what you might not have known about all of the young women that did the interviews today, is they're all part of our student leadership board. We have about 150 young women across the state who represent the majority of the schools. And they're the leadership council for SheTech. They help create programs, they're advocates, they get engaged, and they have lots of opportunity to have cool experiences like this. How cool is it to go interview these great women from Hill Air Force Base? So if you're interested in that, you also apply for that on the website. We like representation across all of the schools, and it's just a great opportunity to provide some leadership and see everything that's possible in STEM. So reach out to us for any of those things that you're interested in. Okay, so I'm going to read, and I think we need you to contact us. So Pomai will send the instructions to make sure that we have your right contact information so we can send you your gifts for the drawing. So our five winners today of the poll drawings are Lily Samples, Emily Holbrook, Reagan Brimley, Ocean Armstrong, and Rachel Jacobson. So don't close off of this until you send us your contact information so that we can reach out to you. And make sure that you hit SheTech Explorer site to do that. And thank you. We have some of the Hill Air Force Base people attending today. Thank you for all of the amazing work, for the opportunity that you gave us to highlight your stories and share them with all the young women, and really to inspire all of us in the things that we can become. We hope you have a great day, and we will see you on April 21st.